In the heart of the scorching desert, under a sky that seemed to mock the earth with its endless expanse of blue, a young Israelite boy named Eli stumbled upon a carcass of a pig. The stench was overwhelming, but what filled Eli with more dread was the knowledge that this creature, once alive, was now a source of impurity that could taint not only him but everything it touched. This moment, though small, was a stark reminder of the intricate and often bewildering rules that governed his people's lives. The laws of kashrut, or dietary laws, were not just about what to eat. They were a profound statement about how the Israelites were to live in the world, a world that was both created by God and contaminated by sin. The Israelites, as they wandered through the wilderness, were given a set of dietary laws that were as specific as they were puzzling. These laws, found in the book of Leviticus, were not just about health or hygiene. They were about identity, purity, and holiness. The laws dictated which animals could be eaten and which could not. And the reasons for these distinctions were not always clear. For instance, the law states that only animals with split hooves that also chew the cud can be eaten. This means that while cows and sheep are permissible, pigs, camels, and hares are not. The reasoning behind these laws is a subject of much debate. But one interpretation is that they were meant to create a clear boundary between the Israelites and the surrounding pagan cultures. The Israelites were to be a holy people, set apart from the nations, and these dietary laws were a tangible way to express that separation. The laws also extend to the sea, where only fish with fins and scales can be consumed. This means that shellfish, eels, and other sea creatures are forbidden. Again, the reasoning is not entirely clear. But one possible explanation is that these laws were designed to avoid ambiguity. Fish with fins and scales are clearly fish, while creatures like shellfish and eels blur the lines between fish and other creatures. This idea of maintaining clear categories is a recurring theme in the dietary laws. The Israelites were to live in a world where boundaries were clear, and where the natural order was respected. This was a way of affirming God's creation and rejecting the chaos that was associated with the pagan gods. The laws also cover birds, and the list of forbidden birds is extensive. Eagles, vultures, and owls are all considered unclean, as are bats. The reasoning here is less about maintaining clear categories and more about avoiding creatures that were associated with death and decay. Birds of prey, for example, feed on the dead, and their presence was seen as a reminder of the cycle of life and death. By avoiding these birds, the Israelites were, in a sense, rejecting the idea that death was a natural and inevitable part of life. Instead, they were affirming the belief that life was created by God and was meant to be preserved and sanctified. The laws also extend to insects, and here the rules are even more specific. Only certain types of insects, such as locusts, are considered clean and can be eaten. This might seem strange to us, but in the context of the ancient world, where locusts were a common source of food, these laws made sense. The prohibition on most insects was likely a way to avoid the spread of disease, but it also served to reinforce the idea that the Israelites were to be a holy people, set apart from the natural world. The consequences of violating these laws were severe. Touching the carcass of an unclean animal, for example, would make a person unclean, and they would be required to undergo a period of purification. This could involve washing their clothes, bathing, and avoiding certain activities until the evening. The idea was that impurity was a contagious state, and it could be transmitted through touch or even through the air. This is why the laws are so detailed about the handling of unclean animals and their carcasses. The Israelites were to be vigilant in maintaining their purity, and this required constant attention and care. The dietary laws were not just about avoiding certain foods. They were a way of life. They shaped the way the Israelites thought about the world and their place in it. Every meal, every act of preparation, and every choice of food was a reminder of their unique status as God's chosen people. The laws were a daily ritual that reinforced their identity and their commitment to God. In the end, the dietary laws were a profound statement about the nature of God and the nature of humanity. God, in His infinite wisdom, had created a world that was good and ordered, but that world had been marred by sin. The Israelites were called to be a light in the darkness, a people who lived according to God's laws and who reflected His holiness in all they did. The dietary laws were a tangible expression of this calling, a daily reminder of the covenant that bound them to God. As Eli stood there in the desert, the pig's carcass a potent symbol of impurity, he understood that his life was not his own. It belonged to God, and every choice he made, every bite he took, was a statement of faith and obedience. The laws were not a burden. They were a gift, a way to live in harmony with God and with the world He created. In a world that often seems chaotic and uncertain, the Israelites found clarity and purpose in the laws of kashrut. They were a reminder that God was present, that He cared, and that He had a plan. The laws were not just about what to eat. They were about how to live, and in that, they remain a timeless message of hope and faith.